Thank you, Senator. Senator Francis Black.
Thank you very much, Lasky Hirlock. And I just want to say, this morning I got the chance actually to speak with representatives from LAMA. I know my colleague, Senator Cockwell, mentioned it this morning, and I know, Leader, this is something that you're very aware of also. LAMA represents councillors across 31 local authorities and has been working hard to raise concerns about the working conditions that are driving many away from local politics. It's very worrying. It's an issue I've raised many times in this House, and as have several colleagues from across the political divide. And since the Local Government Act in 2014, councillors have seen a big change in their role. And I speak to them regularly and consistently hear that they're struggling to cover larger areas on very limited time and resources. The reality is that local councillors are often the first port of call for people who have an issue or a problem, particularly vulnerable people. Aside from attending council meetings and votings, they need to make sure they're available if someone needs help, if a crucial local service isn't working or a person relies on state support to get by, then they have to be there to answer that call. This essentially leads to a situation whereby councillors are trying to do a full-time role, but they do it out of hours or by taking unpaid leave. Because councillors aren't paid a full-time wage, most need to keep up employment in another job, which is then put under huge pressure. For many councillors who don't have a lot of flexibility in work or come from a wealthy background, it's simply not possible to do the job properly. The obvious issue with this is that there is squeezing people on lower incomes out of local government. And I've seen so many fantastic councillors, people who represented their local community so well, essentially forced to step away from the role because it just wasn't sustainable. I firmly believe that local and national government will be much worse off if we continue to shut out people from different socio-economic backgrounds. While some of the reforms in recent years in terms of expenses and allowances have been welcome, the feedback is that the process is extremely complicated and hasn't solved the deeper issues. Ultimately, we need to have a real debate on that role we want for local councillors and local government, and how inclusive we want the position to be. Currently, we're caught between two poles. It's not a voluntary position with a low level of commitment, and it's not a full-time position with the resources available to do it properly. I've never met a councillor who takes up the role because they're looking for a high-earning career. They just want it to be sustainable. So in this light, I want to call on Government to finally publish the Moorhead report examining these issues. Plans need to be outlined to deal with pay and conditions, to support attending meetings and an examination of how the mileage system works. As we begin another 5-year term following the local elections, I'd ask that Government do this as a matter of absolute urgency.